All right, welcome to Mathematics TV channel, where I'll be teaching you intensively on a topic titled Quadratic Equation. I know you have come across it in series of other videos, but this is where I have to give you an intensive teaching on this topic so that you understand the rudiments, especially the YX students and the NECO student as well, so even the GC students or candidates, if I may be correct on that, and the Jambites. So I will be taking you on the quadratic equations. Before we go straight to questions, I would definitely like to give you the definition of a quadratic equation. So let's try it. Quadratic equation. So in algebra or in algebraic form, quadratic equations are equations that is what rearranged, equation that is rearranged in standard form. The equations are rearranged in standard form. You may ask, why is it rearranged in a standard form, and why this definition is very important for us to start working at, please. Now, in mathematics, instructions are very, very important for a student to understand before taking any move. We all know that we are acquainted to some method. We are acquainted with some ways of solving questions. But, students these days are very lazy to read, understand a question, but they will just go straight and start solving questions on that, especially the YX student, the NECO student, and that of the GC student. And compared to other exams, except the Jambite, who might just avoid any of those methods, use one particular method to get their answers. It depends on the instruction given to them. So for that, I'm talking about quadratic equations. It's saying in algebraic form, quadratic equations are what? Are equation that is what rearranged in standard form. And the standard form we're talking about, a raised to the power of what? A times 10 raised to the power of n. You know that this your 10, this your a here, can be called an integer. And why this, what they call it, the 10 here, is being expressed as the base. Why this n here is called the exponential what? Powers. Are you there? So it's been expressed in what? In this format, which has unknown variables, which has what? Unknown what? Variables. Now those variables are integers, unknown variable. Let's put it that way. Unknown variables or integers. Let me put it as unknown variables or integer at this moment, because there's a specifications of certain variable that can be applied, unknown variables or integers. Are you there? So with the presence of A, B, and that of what? C, in that given what? In that given quadratic what equation. So now you'll be asking why those numbers or alphabets are indicated in the same procedure. So let's look at the forms of quadratic equations. The forms, let's look at this form. So if I have ax squared plus bx plus c is equals to 0, it is a quadratic what equation. And where we have where we have the coefficient, where we have the coefficient of x squared as a, and where we have the coefficient of x as a, the coefficient of x is b, and the ambiguous constant, we call it an ambiguous constant, which is called our c. It's called the ambiguous what? Constant. So that is what the constant is all about. So it means that algebraic equations that is rearranged in a standard form, where unknown variables or integers with a respect of a and b and c is that given in that given quadratic equation. And the forms we have ax squared plus bx plus c equals to 0, where the coefficient of x squared is a and the coefficient of x is b, and the ambiguous constant is that of c. And let's look at the methods in solving solving quadratic equations. This is very paramount, please. Sometimes questions will be given to students and asking you to use a particular method. So some students will just be just used to any one particular method, and they will just solve it. So at the end of the day, they just discover the marker actually gave them 0 on that or reduce their score despite they have them. So there are methods in solving quadratic equation, okay? And those methods are, we have four good methods of solving quadratic equation. Also, so there are what? There are four methods. There are four methods used in solving quadratic equations. There are four methods using solving a quadratic equation. So that first one is called factorization method. We call it a factorization method. Call it a factorization method. Now under factorization method we have rules. There are rules in factorization method. The first rule is called the f1 plus minus the f2, which can provide us b. Then the second method is called f1 f2, which can provide us c. All right, so here we can call this sum of difference of two squared. Okay, two squares or certain numbers. Then here we can have we can call this one a product rules. They all depend on what we are trying to solve at that particular moment. Okay, the other method is called completing the square root, completing the square root method. And the other one is called the general formula, which is also regarded as almighty formula. We can also call it an almighty formula. And the symbol for almighty formula, you all know it, which is S equals to minus b plus minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. So this is the general formula for which would be regarded as almighty formula. So the last one is called graphical method. So this graphical method is we require graph to get this particular question being solved. All right, that is one of those things you have to look at when you are solving a given question in quadratic equation. Okay, let's start with this example. So let's look at this example. Example 1. Solve the quadratic equation of x squared minus x minus 3 equals to 0. All right, solve the quadratic equations of x squared minus x minus 3 equals to 0. We'll be asking ourselves this question now. From the question we have there, we have four methods in solving quadratic equation, and we are not asked to use one particular method. It seems we can't take a decision on our own to use any method for now, apart from the graphical method. We can use the three good methods there to solve this given question: x squared minus 3x minus x squared minus x minus 3 equals to 0. But if they want us to use completing the square root method, that means there must be a statement here using using the completing the square root method. But that instruction was not given, so let's get this one out of the line. So, but you can use the completing the square method to solve this. You can use factorization method to solve this. You can use the general formula or almighty formula to solve this. Now, it is not left for you. So, it's advisable for the Jambite. The Jambite student, please, you can apply factorization method so that you can easily get your answer because of the time given to you. The WAEC student as well, not that you can apply factorization method. It all depends whether it is objective question or theoretical questions. Are you getting it now? But if it is objective question, it is also advisable to apply factorization method. But sometimes I believe this computing the square root method, you can be asked to use it in your theoretical questions, okay? Likewise, the graphical method in using this particular question. So if it is in objective, I think two good methods is better for us to apply here, which is called, we can use factorization method, and we can use the general formula. Are you getting it now? So let's solve this question with factorization method. So let's start with this. I know that many scholars or many teachers have taught you ways of solving questions like this, but I believe I have to apply my own ways of solving it. So that means, let's write this, please. Note this form of quadratic equation is what? Ax squared plus bx plus c is equals to what? Is equals to 0. Are you there? So with this equation given to us now, x squared minus x minus 3 is equals to what? 0. So where a is equals to what? 1. Then b is equals to minus 1, and that of our c is equals to what? Minus 3. So it simply means I have decided to use what they call almighty formula. I decide to use almighty formula. So I'll be through with the almighty formula. Then the same question, I will use it for factorization method to see if my answer will still be the same. And if time permits, we can still go to completing the square method. So for this, the coefficient we are using, so please be mindful of the coefficient you are using. So for here, I'm using coefficient of x and that of x here. So that means my almighty formula must start with what? X as the subject formula. So that means x equals to what? Minus b plus minus the square root of what? B squared minus 4ac all over what? 2 a. So that means I have to insert the value of what? The value of what? A, b, and what? C into the what? Into the formula. So I have to insert them into the what? The formula. So putting them into the formula now, that means S9 is equals to, wherever I see B, I will put the value of what? Minus 1. So be mindful. My B here has what? Minus B. So that means the B that is coming is minus 1. So that means I don't need to take this minus to replace the minus that is here. So this B has its own minus. So that means I'm going to have minus 1. Students always make this kind of error. They will think because this one is having minus now, so the minus is now for this one attached to the B. So that means only one should be implemented at that. No, the minus, this is B, and which is minus 1, and my B is still constant. Are you there? So here I have my plus minus the square root of what? Minus B all in squared minus 4a. So 4a, mind you, my 4 is what? 1. So please, I'm using this dot as 1, multiplication sign. Then the next dot is for multiplication also, but I'm using what? Minus 3 for my replacements of my c. So that means 2 all over a, which now represented by what? 1. So that means now x now is equals to what? Minus times minus will give me what? Plus. So let me write 1 here. Plus minus. So the square of 1 will give you, the square of minus 1 will give us 1. And mind you, are having minus 4 times 1 times minus 3. So automatically I'm going to have what? 12. You all know how we got 12 because minus times minus will give me what? Plus. And 4 times 1 times 3 will give me that of 12. So divided by what? Divided by 2. You see the logistic now. So divided by what? 2. So that is how the whole procedure come on. So let's continue. So here is what? Minus 4 plus that of 3, and that will give us what? X now. So x now is equals to what? 1 plus 12. So that 1 plus 12 will give us the square root of what? 13 all over what? 2. Are you with me now? So 13 all over what? 2. So far. So let's proceed. So in the next move, let's have this. So we now have x is equals to what? 1 plus minus the square root of 13 all over 2. And we can say either s equals to what? 1 plus the square root of 13 all over 2, or 1 minus the square root of 13 all over what? 2. So in that case, whatever the square root of 13 may be, whatever we do, we add it up with this, and then finally our answer should be plus minus the square root of 13 all over 2, or 1 minus the square root of 13 all over what? 2. So it simply means if it's in the solved form, that means 1 over 2 in respect of 1 plus the square root of 13, or 1 over 2 in respect of 1 minus the square root of what? 13. So that is how questions like that can be solved. So far so good. We have the quadratic equations. I've given you the definitions, and so in our next episode, I will definitely teach you on how we can use the factorizing aspect to solve this particular question. So if there is any questions, comment in the next sessions, and let's have a good rapport. All right, thank you.